Good morning, everybody.
Hi, Steve.
Good morning.
Where's your picture?
I don't know. Good question.
Yeah, me too.
If you guys are on your computers, there should be, if you, there should be a icon in the lower corner, lower left corner that talks about video. You click on that to get your pet camera on there.
Hey, there we go.
All right.
Good to see Bill's made the long drive in from Pennsylvania.
Hi, Bill.
Everybody been getting out and about a little bit?
Not
No,
really.
Yeah.
very little.
Yeah,
I went to Walmart. Does that count?
yeah. We drive around a lot. Go
Yeah,
to
me
Presque
too.
Isle, go to Pymatuming, you name it, Warren, just to go have some ribs.
Well, I have a good time. I go to a lot of classic car shows. I take my car,
What kind of car you got?
1960 Chevy Impala
Cool. I like it.
from West Virginia.
Mm,
Pretty much all original.
yeah. You go to that one in Brunswick?
Laurel Square.
Yeah.
What happened there is the restaurant there, they were having trouble with their cooking outside,
Uh-huh.
and they were shut down because they weren't
product in
passing the safety requirements.
they've offered
So
this,
that he was
selling quite
fighting
a few of them.
the
Some
show
for
going
20
on because he used
milliamp-hour
to
lithium-ion
support
battery,
that.
Okay.
So what happened was
with the
Fat
USB
Bob
Type-C.
restaurant down in the
It has a
at
monochrome
front there.
paper screen.
Uh-huh.
he went to all the
which is
people
very, very
and he
low
got the
power,
permission
which
to
makes it
sponsor the show.
Okay.
It was supposed to start this Saturday, but then the city of Medina sent him a letter because of where Medina County's in the red zone.
Yeah.
They told him he can't have it until it drops out of the red zone. So that might be in another week or two or something before he can, but I'm sure people still go there because I was there
Yeah.
a couple of times and people just show up anyway.
Yeah. I was there a couple of weeks ago.
I'm not sure if I was there then or not, because I started beginning of the month, July 4th, Columbia Station. They had over 400 cars show up.
Wow. We're on the Village Green there?
Yeah,
On 82 in West River?
yeah, right, yeah.
Wow.
They had over 400 cars. Oh, that place was full. I was there last year for the first year, and this year, easy, they had twice as many cars.
I'll be darned.
Beautiful,
People
beautiful
trying to get
cars.
out. Yeah.
But then I go to Baker Square, across from Sears and 130th, West 130th.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was there last night, and I was there last week. And then Laurel Square, I was there. And then there's another place they have shows. It's on Sprague and York. There's a little shopping center there.
Yeah, yeah.
On Wednesdays they'll have something over there.
Okay.
But I enjoy it. It's a good time. People have been pretty polite and distancing and wearing masks, and
That's good.
but it's a good time.
Yeah.
Get out of the house and I go for a nice ride.
Yeah. That's what we do. Mike, you haven't heard anything back from the city, huh?
No, I'm pessimistic.
Yeah.
I think they were maybe approaching They were supposed to have a meeting in July to decide about the rest of the year. And I haven't heard about that, but I would imagine that the way this thing is, the upswing in the cases of occurring, I think they've probably delayed what their decisions are.
Well, now we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I want to turn it down a little.
I bet we don't go back there this year.
Yeah, that's my prediction. Yeah.
I agree. I really think that won't be this year. Maybe after November 4th.
It's Mike Crouch. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can, Mike.
Mike,
We saw your picture about a minute ago, but it just disappeared.
I just can't get my picture up on the thing, and that's what I was wondering.
It was there about 2 minutes ago.
Okay. Well,
For some reason, I can't get my picture on the internet.
If you're on a computer,
I'm on an iPad.
Oh, well, Joe, you're the only one who knows about iPads.
Let me see here.
Well, it's not a problem. I'll just listen to you guys.
There you go.
Mike Crouch, are you on a computer or a tablet?
I'm on a computer.
Okay, in your lower left corner of your screen, you should see a little video button.
Start video.
Yeah,
Okay,
click on it.
I have, and that's my picture. Thank you very much, Mike.
All right.
It's a miracle.
How's everybody doing? Good?
Good.
And so,
Great.
so I quit my job this week. I've been working there for 8 years. Part-time.
Are you retired now?
I think I am retired now. Actually, I retired from the main job in 2001.
So if you're on the tablet on iPad, if you click on the screen towards the top of the screen,
Yes.
you'll see a button bar drop down.
Right.
And then you should have an option there to start video.
Oh, okay. I saw it. There we go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
He's ready.
Fred, you have your tea kettle on?
Yeah. I'll get it turned off.
Steve, no turning this month?
No, been too busy. I still got some up there. I should have put them on there because I got turned about 25 that last time. And but we were only allowed to put 5 in there, so oh well.
We'll give somebody else a chance.
Yeah. There you go.
So your average for the last 2 months then is 8.
There you go. Yeah, I'm over the limit. Yeah, I'll get back to it sooner or later here. As soon as it starts, it's not so hot.
Me too.
You just got to get up earlier.
True. Well, I do get up usually 6 o'clock.
I try to get up before breakfast.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Morning.
Is it made for you when you get up? You gotta make it. Go and get a bowl of cereal, huh?
Come on. Good girl. Come on.
How many do we have on now?
30.
30.
Hi, Mort.
How you doing?
Good, you?
Good to see my background. That's my workshop.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I've been cleaning it out. I've been throwing a lot of stuff up. I have so much wood in there. I've been cleaning over 40 years, 50 years. Anybody want wood? I have it.
No, that's a nice shop.
I think Bill Blasek needs the wood.
Come
We
over.
have a wood raffle on the computer.
idea.
Morning, Bill. Basic.
Hi, Rich.
Morning, guys, from North Carolina. It's going to be 93 here, I think, today.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
You can keep it down there.
It's hot, but we don't have to shovel it.
Well, you got a point there, yeah.
Went for my walk this morning. It was about 72, so that isn't bad. I get a couple of miles in the morning. What'd you think of the, what's the general consensus on the AEW, the symposium? I thought they did a pretty good job for the first time, and kind of interesting not being there. I kind of missed being there.
Yeah, I liked it. I don't like, there's that chat going on at the bottom. I wasn't too impressed with that. They had, it blocked part of this video screen, and a lot of things weren't that interesting, or they were just, I don't know, saying hi from North Carolina or stuff like that. It was kind of boring.
Yeah,
or,
that chat
distracting.
thing was annoying.
Yeah.
Too bad they can't get to the side of the screen or something.
And I wish they could have done more with the instant gallery somehow. I mean, I went through it afterwards. They posted it. There's, I don't know, 300 or 400 people who submitted things to the instant gallery. And, the instant gallery in person is certainly a fantastic experience. But the one on the online slideshow was also quite impressive. So I was recommend you guys who haven't done that yet to go through that instant gallery. A lot of nice stuff there.
Yeah, Mike, I viewed your item. It's 373, I think.
373.
That was the item that you submitted.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The critique is an hour and a half that I'll never get back.
Yeah. Yeah. That was kind of, yeah.
Nobody
I
liked
like the the session with Mike Hasseluk and several of the others that talked about their body of work. I can't think of the other guys' names off the top of my head, but that was nice to go through that. I enjoyed that one. Yeah.
I think unless they do more of these, like the first one's always a little painful and a learning experience for a lot of people. So hopefully we have some others that we do these with.
If they all got as good as Cindy Drost, it'd be a lot better.
She keeps pounding on the door.
Does anybody know how many people participated in that?
3,800.
Oh, wow.
What? Yeah. Yeah, I thought all the demonstrators did well, except for Maloney. Of course, he had trouble. He lost his file the night before or something, and he had to start from scratch that morning. But he had some troubles. But he did much better, I thought, when he presented to us as a club than he did for the
Yeah, I agree, Mike. His
yeah.
presentation for the club was
Yeah, I
much,
agree,
much
too.
better.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
I kind of like the demonstrations, like you did, Mike. I thought that was terrific, where they demonstrate for a little while and then they talk for a little while, and then you show demonstration. It gets rid of changing chucks and the background stuff. I think we learned way more turning balls from your demonstration. I mean, you did 5 of them, whereas somebody was setting up on a lathe with a block of wood maybe could do 2. Plus, you get to know it better.
Well, thank you.
Mike's demonstration's kind of that way too. He doesn't turn anything. He shows it being done.
Yeah. Pete, if you're going to bring food to the meeting, you got to share.
Sorry, guys.
I don't think he's really sorry.
Who's got all the donuts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were supposed to deliver them to the house.
That was Nowodonsky's job, I think.
Well,
So
I've got
you're
him
not gonna
here.
run anymore, Mike, be for president?
Pardon me?
Can you be president again?
I'll talk about elections when we start the meeting. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. I like that. I like that.
Of course, everyone who didn't read the newsletter has been nominated.
That's why I'm here.
I got that one.
Everybody read it.
Any pictures? Okay. May I have my coffee cup and I'll get myself some more coffee?
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning, Joe.
Morning.
Morning.
It looks nice.
Indians won last night.
Yeah.
That's a good game. 14 Ks. Can you believe that in the 6th inning?
Yeah, only 5 more games in the season.
Yeah, maybe 4.
They even put the noise of the crowd in there. You could hear the crowd, but it wasn't there. It was kind of neat.
There were people sitting in the stands there. Didn't you see all those people there?
Yeah.
Some
Somebody
of them
did a
had
good
their
job
hands
with
up in the air.
I don't know
I
if you
can't
saw-
envision playing baseball with a mask on. And some of them had masks.
Yeah. So I've seen some replays of Korean baseball that they've been playing that for a couple months now, and they fill the stands with right behind the batter, so that when they're showing the camera from the pitcher's point of view, it looks like the stands are filled, but they're filled with like stuffed animals and cartoon characters. There's like SpongeBob is right behind the umpire, stuff like that. It's kind of funny when you see it. Yeah.
Well, the Indians had those nice cutouts in the seats.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a couple of people up in the stands, though.
I don't know if they were news people, sports writers.
Yeah, it could be, yeah.
You'd think they could put some fans in there.
Those few people made a lot of noise.
They did.
Yeah, they sure did.
I heard in New York for the baseball games that you can purchase a cardboard cutout image of yourself, and they'll put it in the stands.
Yeah, they're doing that for football too.
Are they?
Season holders.
I
Yeah.
think
They
that's what
also
the
take it away during the 7th inning when everyone leaves.
Right.
Isn't that what the Indians did with their cutouts?
Something I knew I had put on.
We see the secular community roster around us down here.
I think I like this part of the show better than the show and tell.
Either, but not
Little show.
very recently. It may be in that stack over there.
I'm right.
No, that's where I put your pad. You just have to ask the right person, right?
That's right. That's what it's all about.
All right. I think I'm going to start. Okay, I've got a list of things to talk about. Not too long of a list. First, I want to go over the schedule. Again, we haven't heard from the city yet about opening up our facility. And the way things are going with the resurgence of cases and stuff like that, I'm pretty pessimistic. I doubt we'll get in there before the end of the year. It's possible. They haven't said yes or no. And last time I talked to them, they said they were going to have a big meeting in July to decide, but that was before this resurgence. So I guess I'm not too optimistic that we'll get back in there. Nevertheless, we've planned our pretty much everything up through December. We've pretty much confirmed as going forward plan. So I'm going to go over that now, and I'm going to ask Ron Tomasz to elaborate if he can. First, August 1st, which is next Saturday, we have Eric Lofstrom signed up. He's an excellent turner from the West Coast, Washington State or Oregon, I forgot which one. And he's going to talk about end grain decorated bowls. And I showed a picture in one of the older emails that I sent out about the type of things he does, and he does quite nice pieces of art. And he also, I also was anxious to see him because of his use of the negative rake scraper is very refined, and I was hoping to learn about that from him. So that's August 1st. This is a remote meeting, and he's not coming to Cleveland, and he's not going to do, as we usually ask pro turners to do hands-on training, and of course that's off the table for him. So his demonstration is roughly 2 to 3 hours. I can't remember exactly. In September, we have a pro turner, Jerry Meesemer. He's from Pennsylvania. He is
North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina? Okay, I misunderstood that. Anyways, he's coming to give a demonstration, and that's almost certainly going to be, he's going to demonstrate from Ron's shop, Ron Tomasch's shop in Geneva. And he's going to demonstrate his hummingbird houses, which apparently are quite popular. Jerry will stay. If enough people sign up, he'll stay for hands-on training at Ron's shop in Geneva. So if you want to spend Sunday turning in Ron's shop and getting hands-on training from Jerry, you can get that. And that could be on this hummingbird house or several other topics, including making hats. Jerry's quite proficient at making hats also. So that's available, but you have to work with Ron to make sure that you're signed up and confirmed as part of that training. Okay, so that would be the Sunday following the meeting. October, we have pro turner from New Mexico. His name is Michael Aguirre, and he does some very impressive things. And I think, Ron, did you pick one of the 3 topics he suggested, or is that still open?
That's still open, Mike.
Okay. He has one where he does a lot of piercing, and I thought that one was pretty unique. So I'm hoping he'll do that one. And he also had a couple others. In November, Joe Brinkman has volunteered to give a demonstration, and that if the facility is open in November, Joe will do it in Brecksville, and if not, he can broadcast from his basement, and that's going to be on embellishment and coloring, and I'm hoping to see that. Because I can't get my airbrush to work, so I'm going to have to make him explain to me why I can't get that working. Thank you, Joe, for that. In December, we haven't really even talked about that as a board yet, about what we're going to do there. But of course, that's traditionally our annual auction, and we're just not quite sure what we're going to do there. But if not, we'll have a remote demonstration planned for that month, and I think Pete Wade's arm has been twisted to do that. Okay, any questions? Oh, and the last thing is September is also our traditional time for our annual exhibit at the Wayne Center for the Arts in Worcester, and that's been Worcester. The museum is closed through the end of the year to these exhibits, so we're not planning on having that exhibit this year. It's a competition, or the exhibit has been is pretty much dead. If someone came up with an alternative, we'd be willing to listen, but again, we don't have anything right now, and neither does Buckeye.
So what's the cost of the thing at Ron's house?
The hands-on training is $100. It lasts all day. Okay, any other questions? Okay, next I want to talk about elections. Okay, again, elections are coming up in November. We have nominations in October. And this is the recruiting period where we're trying to get people to think about volunteering to sign up for a 2-year term. We have member at large, one member at large position. The secretary position is open. Jim Butner is coming to the end of his 2-year term. And the third one, and the member at large is Tom Wisniewski. He's coming up to, his term is ending. So encourage anyone to consider running for office and helping out. And again, turning skill is not a requirement to be an officer. And third office is president. I'm coming up to the end of my 2-year term, and I'd be welcome of anyone else interested in running. And we do have one person who's interested, and that is Ron Tomash is agreed to run for president this fall. So welcome that. And if anyone else is still interested, of course, we'd be welcome to have anyone else consider running. Any comments from that? Okay, please consider helping out. Okay. I really have nothing else. I'm going to start the show and tell then. And so the show and tell is
Mike, I have a couple of comments.
Oh, go ahead, Ron.
All right. First of all, Jerry is coming here regardless. Jerry is from Madison, Ohio, and he wanted to come back and see his where he grew up. So if our facility is open, he's more than willing to do the demo there. But the alternative would be my shop.
Right.
And it wouldn't only be restricted to Sunday. He's going to come in a few days early, so he hasn't determined exactly when he'll be here. But if he comes in on Thursday or Friday or whatever, say Thursday, Friday could possibly be a hands-on class for anybody. Because I have 2 full-size lathes. I had 3, but I donated one, or I should say loaned one to the club. I started out here. So we could, and he would even be willing to come a day or 2 earlier than that if we have enough people interested in taking that class. And the 2 subjects, like Mike said, would be the birdhouses, which he now mass produces. And secondly, for the people who are interested in hats, he'd be willing to do that also. So Eric Lostrom is from California, so obviously he's going to have to do the remote demo. As far as I know, the board hasn't made a decision yet. December, the auction. I have talked it over with the owner of the building where Lake Erie Woodturners meets. It's a very large building, and it would be available to us if we wanted to have an auction. Basically, we'd have it, I mean, it's just a huge building. So it's something else to look at. Of course, that's something that the board will have to discuss first. But outside of that, that's about all I have. And like Mike said, I am going to run for president in December. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I have one more helpful hint. I just wrote this down. I read it on the internet, so I know it's true. If you take, my favorite part of the day is taking a nap at lunchtime. And I have found that, I read that if you drink coffee right before you take your nap, you wake up with more energy than with just a regular nap. So I'm ready to try that. I always take the coffee after my nap, but I'm going to try that first. All right. Show and tell. We have a bunch of slides of photos submitted both for people's wood turnings and also their shop. So we'll get through that. And at the very end, Jim Schuster submitted a video of him working in his shop, and we're going to show that. It's about 2 or 3 minutes long. So that's what we're planning. And as your photographs come up, we'll we'll ask you to unmute yourself and describe your pieces, unless you don't want to, of course. All right, I'm going to try to share my screen and bring up the video, bring up the slideshow here. Okay, Joe, you have to enable me to share my screen. Okay, you should see something. Let's see. How's that?
It's got it.
Okay. Okay, Jim Mayer, you're first.
All right, here I am. That's a piece that I started last winter and glued up a whole bunch of pine. And it's the second piece I've done based on the artist Marguerite Wildenhain, who's got a piece in the Cleveland Art Museum. I did this just with the idea of learning to hollow. And I did enough hollowing, so I got the whole wine bottle into the turning. Now, if I can take a moment, I'll show you a sphere that I've just finished.
Oh.
Does that show up?
No, I've got the screen. You're not going to be able to do that.
Share.
Yeah.
That's the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm.
The wood came from a bedstead that I had done 50 years ago, so it was well dried. It had some holes in it, and so I had some bamboo skewers, and they just fit the holes, so that's why it's bamboo plugged.
I see. Okay. Yeah, your sphere will have to wait for the next one, I think.
Okay, no problem.
All right. Nolan. Yeah, I thought I saw Nolan's name. Oh, yeah, there he is. Yeah, go for it.
I had done a clock or two earlier. This was just a repeat. My daughter wanted one that was a little taller. Just a hunk of cherry. It's done sort of on the principle of the flask that was done several times ago. I did a clock a couple months ago. I think you all remember that. Mm-hmm. This one is about almost a foot tall, 11 inches tall, about a 2.5-inch face in it.
That looks nice.
This was a piece of Chinese elm I had. Very interesting grain and texture. Doesn't show up as well in the picture, but it's not too bad. Again, I'm about a 6-inch Chinese elm bowl. This was a piece of wood that was bought for me by one of my daughters. It said on it, I think it came from Woodcraft, it said it's Dalmatian. I'm not sure about that. This was turned on 7 different axes. Each end was done on 3 offset axes. And then obviously the center and the hollow one is done on the center axis. It doesn't show up as much here because of the grain, but maybe I'll do one with something that's grainless and you'll be able to see the facets a little bit better.
Yeah, I see them a little bit, but you're right. It is kind of...
The grain sort of overshadows the, but like I said, more than anything, I like to just try something. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I do it a second time, and sometimes I go on to something else.
Very nice. What kind of finish is on that?
That actually is just some walnut oil. Wood itself is fairly dark. That apparently I didn't realize I'd sent a second picture, but that's another picture of it. It's a little out of focus, but that was the other end of the piece. Again, just trying something. It's all on one axis, but I pre-drilled some offset holes with the Forstner bit while it was square, and just turned it. I'll call it an open base. It's I think 3 or 4 inches tall. Same wood. And there was a suggestion to show some shop. This is my corner, the turning corner of my shop. The rest of it is contract saws, radio arm saws, the whole bit, because I used to build a lot of furniture. I sort of stopped that, so the rest of the stuff sits there with covers on it. Once in a while, something else, but that's what I've got is my little corner where sometimes magic happens. Most of the time it's a disaster. And if there's any questions, like I said, there's just a lot of stuff there.
What are those things on the headstock?
The things on the top of the headstock?
Yeah.
A couple little magnetic bottomed cans that I use. Stick the paper towel in there when I'm finishing or whatever. There's a magnetic parts tray on top that I lay the sandpaper in, and to the left of that, it doesn't show well, but there's a little mace basket, again held on with magnets, set to finish bottles, and you'll see those on the far left wall and near the top of the rack with 3 or 4 finishes I normally use: oil, shine juice, sands and sealer, etc.
I see.
What's
And
on
I
the
have a little
end?
dedicated dust collector. I have a big one for the rest of the shop, but that one I had left over and I stuck it back in the corner there. Use it primarily when I'm sanding. I also have an air cleaner in the shop. So
What's on the end of the headstock? It looks like a parting tool or something.
oh, that's sorbet parting stool. There's a magnet there. That way I know where that little thing is all the time.
Nolan,
I use a lot of magnets, as you might notice. There's a diamond card over on the tailstock with a magnet, and if you look close someplace, you'll probably find a 6-inch ruler or 2 held on with magnets. And I built it with a tabletop, and you notice across the front, I just put in some holes and I set the extra tool rest down there. Extra chuck off on the left. The blue cabinet in the center of the picture is chuck jaws. And I think you recognize turning tools.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the plastic down the front. That's for chips or for finish to keep from getting on everything, Nolan?
The big piece is just to keep dust and stuff off the bottom shelf where I have several large pieces of wood sitting, combination of weight and someplace to hold them. The one that looks all cruddy at the end is a separate piece of plastic held in place with a magnet. And yeah, basically what I do when I'm throwing finish, I just pull that up with the magnet over the top of the lathe bed to keep it from collecting too much.
I like that. That's smart.
I used to use a piece of cardboard, but then you always had to move the tailstock back, etc. This will fit any place, no matter where the tailstock or the banjo is sitting.
Okay, very nice.
And you'll see 2 or 3 little gooseneck lamps in there.
Yeah.
Picked up from IKEA. I think you've probably seen those before. Put the light where I need to have it. Other than that, that's pretty much it. That's my little corner.
All right, very nice. Dan Maloney. I didn't see Dan. Was Dan signed in?
I did. He's not on the list.
Okay. Well, this is quite nice. Mahogany. And I guess those are postage stamps. That's kind
I
of
was gonna
nifty.
say, are those postage stamps from everywhere he's been?
I don't know. Somehow he's got 3 of each.
They look pretty old and dated from the 20s, 30s, 40s.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. I never seen that that concept before. That's pretty nice. All right, these are mine. The pieces I chose to show this month are all carvings. I'm trying to teach myself carving, I guess, a little bit. So this one I started at, I took Trent Bosch's class at Aeromont 2 summers ago, and 3 summers now, I guess. Anyway, so he encouraged us to try different things, and this is one thing that I sort of had a vague idea of wanting to try. But these are hollowed vessels, and I carved them to make them look like bags with ties around them. Intentionally kept the surface kind of rough to try to replicate what a cloth bag would look like. The one on the left, the smaller one, was the prototype, and the bigger one then was the one that I trying to make for keeps. Here's a different view right here, different parts of it.
Mike, those look great. Did you have difficulty when you were done turning? Were they pretty smooth and round, or did you turn them kind of clunky and misshapen to start with?
Well, the neck was perfectly round and quite thick in order to make all those undulations. The rest of the body, I did try to get it less than round. I don't know, I went into Google image search and I searched on money bags, and I collected like 20 or 30 different images of money bags, and I tried to pick the ones that I liked the best. And they sort of, a lot of them, they flare out at the bottom. And so I didn't quite like those, but anyways, I didn't want it round. I didn't want a nice smooth curve like a typical vase shape would be, or a hollow form. So it is kind of flat-sided on purpose. Yeah.
Do you have any pictures of before you started carving?
No, but I mean, you've seen my stuff with necks, right? They're not that much different from these, really. But it would be quite thick at the top. Yeah.
Are they hollowed, Mike?
Say again?
Are they hollowed?
Yes. Yes.
To what extent?
Like a 1/2 inch wall thickness. Maybe a little less, because those grooves are pretty deep, you can see. So I didn't want to break through the wall, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Great job, Mike. Those look cool.
Here's the next one I tried. This I call chocolate syrup. This is meant to look like syrup dripping down over the top of the bowl. This is a small one. It's only about 5 inches diameter, 2 or 3 inches tall. Carved again. There's 2 views of that. The top material is dyed with brown dye, and somehow I got to figure out a better way of doing that if I try this again, because the dye would leak, penetrate into the wood, and sort of stain the lighter colored wood underneath. So that was a little bit of a challenge that I haven't quite figured out. But I sort of like the effect there. It looks pretty real. Yeah.
Do you use rotary tools or chisels or what?
Mostly rotary tools. Yeah.
Okay. Nice job.
Mike, I remember some demonstrator we had that it wasn't like this, but it was the idea of having one area stained and not bleeding through to the other. And he said something about you have to do a little pyrography and burn that line to prevent the dye from traveling through to the lighter wood.
Yeah. I was thinking of that after it was too late. Yeah.
The other thing you can do that I've had luck with is score maybe a 1/16 of an inch deep along that boundary to break the fibers, and that seems to stop the dye from running into the next fibers.
Mm-hmm. Now the wood, the bottom part of the wood, the natural part of the wood, did have brown streaks through it anyways. For example, you see that's not those long snake-like brown colorings down below, and some of that is just natural. But there is, if you see on some of the things dripping down, there is the distinct that is dyed bleeding into the wood over on the 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock position there, probably near where it's carved. Yeah. All right, here's the third one. I stumbled upon this this artist from Scotland, Andy Goldsworthy. He makes these cairns. He's famous for these cairns. These are, this is a 4-foot diameter, 8-foot tall cairn in Scotland, and I just was fascinated by the shape and the stacking of these rocks, and how there is a regular pattern. Everything is horizontal, and it's roughly, it looks like brickwork, but there's enough variation in there to make it interesting. Like some of the bricks are longer than others, and some of them are fatter than others, and I just thought it was great. So I tried it myself on this piece here, and this is about 5-inch diameter, 8-inch tall. Again, carved, turned, hollowed, polished, or finished, fully finished with lacquer, and then carved. And then I put some brown acrylic paint down into the grooves to make it stand out a little bit more. And there is some spalting in that wood, and you see some kind of streaks going in through there. But that's the I kind of like the way this one turned out too. Okay, Jim.
Okay. That is, I've always wanted a steady rest. You'll see the picture of the steady rest later. But to anchor the steady rest, I wanted a cam type of locking device similar to your tailstock. This was turned on a mini lathe, and I couldn't believe how it turned out. It's a 3/4 inch bar stock. The lobe in the center is 3/4 of an inch, and the shaft out the left is a 1/2 inch in diameter, set 1/8 of an inch offset of the center of the 3/4 inch. And that was done so I could get there's a twisting motion coming in on the 1/2 inch shaft. And I wanted a 1/4 inch offset. The other side is a 3/8 shaft. That was all turned on a mini lathe with a 4-inch grinder, hand grinder, and filed a little bit. I was amazed. It came out to within a few thousandths. A lot of grinding dust. Wear a face shield and respirator, earplugs, but it did come out. Over this lobe, that's okay. Oh, that's okay. No, over the lobe is a 1-inch or 3/8 diameter eye hook, eye bolt. It's got the eye on the end, so it rides over the top. Okay, next slide. And the eye bolt you'll see on the next one, but on this one, I made this solid because it puts way more surface area on the bars holding the wheels. So it's much easier to anchor them. Also, I went with 4 wheels so that the tool rest would go right through it, and you can turn on both sides of it. It's really kind of neat. I should have made one years ago. Next slide. Here's the cam. You can see the cam shaft coming out. That's a handle of one of my old drill presses or something. And you can see the shiny top of the eye hook. That eye hook goes down through the bed with about a 4-inch square, 3/8 inch plate of steel. And all you have to do is move the handle back and forth, and it locks it. The turn knobs you can see with the 2 burn lines on them, those anchor the bars going in and out to the wheels. Next one. There it is in the full view. So I should have made one years ago. It really does work. I would go 4 wheels over 3. I don't know what, there may be other advantages to 3 wheels, but 4 wheels really works because you can put the tailstock right through, and does a nice job.
So how do you set the wheels? One at a time? You sort of like bring them in and tighten them down and then go to the next one, that type of thing?
Yeah, yeah. Not very tight, just touching. And it really holds. I haven't tried it for the highest RPM yet, but anyway, not sure I'm going to. But it's amazing how it steadies whatever. Oh, and this is a pandemic bowl, I call this. I've noticed with the pandemic, we all have more time. And so I started one of these. And only in a pandemic would you make one of these. But anyway, it's turned out good, and I have a lot of other ideas. Most of these pandemic bowl, or this kind of bowl, I forget what they call them, dizzy bowls and tornado bowls, and there's all kinds of names for them. But they're turned kind of like a bowl from a board where you cut it at an angle, kind of like Ringmaster did, and you come out with a straight-sided bowl. I didn't want straight sides, I wanted an OG. So these had to be laid out, and each ring is cut different sizes and different widths, and glued together. So I learned a lot of things on gluing and cutting and laying out. It has to be drawn first. I draw all my work. Everything is drawn. There it is, laying flat, but a lot of fun and it sure can use up a lot of time, I'll tell you.
Very nice.
Thank you much.
We had one of these last month, right? I think, Tim, did you do one?
Did I do it last month?
I think someone else, Tim Newodowski, did you submit one last time?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Dan.
Yes, thanks. This is my little wood shop. In the community of Seven Hills, you can only build a certain size structure based on your property. Well, we have a little less than half an acre, so my quaint little wood shop is 14 by 18. Quite small. If I've got anything that I need to cut, I just open up the door and put half of it out and it works out. Or if I got a really long board surface plane, then I'll set a tarp up on the grass. Here's my shop inside. I made all the cabinets, and I even completed a workbench, a carpenter's workbench with, it's got 13 drawers, some are on the side, a couple secret compartments where I can store a 6-foot level, a bunch of long bar clamps, hand saws. It's a nice little feature. Everything I have in my shop is on wheels. So this has steel wheels so you can roll it around. It's a heavy beast. So rubber wheels don't work. They create a flat spot. That's one corner. Here's another corner. I don't have a turning lathe. I'm jealous of all you guys, but I do have a compound sliding miter, a jointer with my shop smith. That's where I do my turning. I've got a band saw, also a separate scroll saw, and just a lot of jigs to help make a lot of different items. My wood is not ideally stored. I know they recommend to put it horizontally, but in my shop, I need the wall space for the jigs, so I just stack my cuttings up vertically. Also, another little view on the next shot is another corner. Got a lot of bar clamps, but I did take a class on timber framing when we lived in North Dakota. We just moved here a couple of years ago, but the class was on timber framing. So the two big sawhorses are called timbered sawhorse trestles. Pretty massive. They're 8x8 with some 8x6 legs, the pods to put them on. And it was a good, the school I went to was called North House Folk School. They have over 200 classes. You can take anything from basket weaving, timber framing. You can even take a month-long class and build your own canoe, like a strip canoe. So it's a quaint little shop, but it works out well for me. I thought maybe someone would like to see a picture of it. Thanks.
Yeah. I noticed there's no sawdust there.
Well, I swept up, I vacuum, and I have a leaf blower. I don't have a dust system. So when things get really bad, I'll sweep, vacuum, and blow it out. It works for me, but I know it wouldn't work for a lot of people with problems with dust. Dust doesn't affect me that much, so I'm pretty lucky. But thank you.
Yeah, this is Sean. This is my shop. I'm in preparation for retirement. I have a place up in New York, on Chautauqua, and I built a shop that the bottom level is it's all trimmed out and everything. The bottom is where the heavy stuff is, the large joiners and planers and drum sanders. And then the upstairs is where most of the work gets done. That's the upstairs. I do custom woodworking as well, and this is a hobby, but I made money doing it too, for businesses in the Cleveland area, doing like the tap handles and serving trays for probably about 8 different breweries in Cleveland. Most of you probably know of, as well as other tabletops, countertops, and that kind of stuff for those establishments. I do wood turning as well, not professionally, just as stuff for people. So I got a small shop I share in Cleveland with some other craftsmen, but this is my go-to one, the one I'm going to end up retiring at. It's pretty well equipped, but I've been doing a lot more wood turning lately. I like the idea of, in a couple hours you have a product start to finish, where a lot of my other projects, they're weeks to get done. So that's the attraction to wood turning, but everything in there I built. I general contracted the building with some local Amish guys and the local trades here. And once it was basically roughed out, I did all the finish work. That's the turning station. I do, and so I try to keep everything close, hand at hand, try to dust, obviously, like everyone else. Dust is always a challenge. I got a large dust collection system, but I'm still trying to tweak that because I'll do some large bowls, and obviously, as you know, I mean, chips fly everywhere. So I'm looking at ideas on how I can improve that. But other than take the lathe out on the deck and just turn out there, which would be fun it'd be nice if the lathe wasn't so heavy. I'll see about taking that lathe and move it down lower level for rough turning and get a smaller platform layer, like a Powermatics, the short and stubby one, or one of those types for the upstairs to do more work like that. I don't know. But anyway.
Is that a Nova lathe?
Yeah, it's the Galaxy. Came out a couple of years ago. It's a nice machine. I don't like the way it breaks because it kind of breaks and locks, and so the breaking of it I don't like when it stops. I'm not all that thrilled with that, so that's why I would probably move it downstairs for roughing, to do rough stuff, rough bowl turning and whatnot, and then get another smaller one, a little shorter but larger. When it'll do a good diameter, but it doesn't have to be so long. And something like, probably like a Powermatic is probably one I'm looking at, the stubby one. But I built the building it's actually a house. I had an owner. I got an occupancy permit from the city, so I can flip that into a house when I'm done woodworking with it, which will probably be a while. But anyway, that's my wood turning station. Try to keep everything as accessible and mobile. The grinding right there. I just spin around, do some fast grinding, and go right back to the work. But still a work in process as far as how I'm building it out. So,
Those were hand or wood turned lamps you got in there too, huh?
yeah, I did that. Stools. There's a stool I would turn those. Everything in there I've done. All the wood trim, the flooring, everything was. There's a lot of ash, so I had a lot of ash trees that were dropped in my area because of the elm, the burl or the bug.
Yeah.
Kill decimating trees. I got 5 acres there, and so I get my own wood milled and everything, and so I have opportunity to get a lot of wood up there, and so everything I make myself, all the cabinets, obviously those are plywood, but most everything else is done with the ash that I get, or walnut. I got a lot of walnut as well. So the little roughed out walnut chunk on the little stool there, and it's on the cart there. But yeah, it's I try to make everything obviously, so it's a fun thing. But anyway, it's the retirement plan.
Okay, very nice.
Thank you.
That's beautiful, Sean.
Thank you.
I think I might have to move up there.
It's pretty pleasant. I'm there right now in my office. I have an office too, so it's very pleasant.
You could perform surgery in there. It's so clean.
Well, it's not always that way as other folks are talking about. I kind of cleaned it up for the show, you know.
Ron.
Yeah, I'm coming. I had to unmute my mic. I was requested to make 4 urns for a good friend of mine that I used to work with at FedEx. Her mother passed, and on the formula base 1 cubic inch, 1 cubic inch of volume for every pound of body weight at life. She weighed about 150, the mother weighed about 150 pounds, and they're dividing the remains between 4 people. So each one I made 4 of them, and these urns will hold about 75 pounds each, which is far more than they need, but she said she wanted something substantially noticeable, so she wanted it a little bit larger than just a coffee cup size. And this stands about 8 inches tall. It's a box elder burl. I was very lucky, and actually it was Bill Blasic's friend in Pennsylvania, Cleveland, Pennsylvania, that offered wood from a box elder tree that he took down at his farm. And Isabel and I drove out there on a Saturday and spent the day out there. And by the way, he's got a lot of burls stored for you, Bill. But that's one of them.
What was the finish on that? Did you any stains?
I'm using tongue oil. That's not quite finished. I want to put some more on it. The brass threaded rings I got from Antler and something.com. He's out in Wisconsin, I believe. I forget the name of it though. The
Walnut
website.
Antler.
That's it. But I purchased 4 sets of threaded rings that are 2 inches. So all 4 urns that I have are, that's the other one that's made out of maple. And actually that was just a piece of maple that I had in my shop for probably 6-7 years. And I thought, well, what the heck? There was no cracks in it. And I'll go ahead and use it.
So do you have to like turn it and let it rest a little bit before you finish it, or not, to use those rings?
No, not at all. They are actual inserts, call it a brass fitting, male and female. And they come with a gasket, a seal, so that when you put the remains in there and tighten it up, it's, you're not supposed to open them and say, "Good morning, Ma, how you doing today?" So I tell people when I put a couple drops of super glue on it when you thread it closed, so nobody will open it.
Yeah.
You know, somebody's going to open it someday not knowing what it is and drop it, and there goes mom, you know. So
Hey, Ron.
I think it should be sealed permanently myself.
Ron, can you send a couple pictures of those rings? That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, I can do that. Actually, what I'll do is I'll find out the website, and a real nice gentleman. I talked to him personally. Actually, it turned out he knew me from somehow, somewhere. I don't know. Because the first thing I said, well, he said to me when I called him, he said, congratulations. I said, for what? And he says, getting in the journal. I said, oh, okay. So then he started talking about people that I knew, and oh well. So, but yeah, he was real nice, and he recommended bigger threads. These are 2-inch. He recommended 3, but I told him, I said, well, I'm kind of hooked where I'm at now because I've already drilled the holes. And I've kind of designed the urn, so I mean, it's like I have no other choice here now. But I couldn't see. I mean, these are both. This one is about 9 inches tall and probably 5 inches in diameter. I couldn't see any reason to make it any bigger. I mean, I got the paper funnels like Pete does to supply with the urn, and you know, you put the remains in there, seal it up, and you're done.
Is the 2 inches the ID or the OD?
Actually, it's the ID.
Yeah, that's plenty big enough.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like I said, actually, she just sent me a text yesterday. She said, how much do I owe you? I'm afraid to tell her. Because, I mean, you know, I made 4 of them, and, you know, the threads, they're not cheap. I'm going to tell you the truth. With shipping and everything, they were about $110, $115. And then I drove to Pennsylvania to get the box elder burl. And when I showed her a picture of the wood before I did it, she said, oh God, I got to have that one. I got to have that. Well, you know, it was a long day. But amazingly, I was really surprised. I don't know how many of you know, but I converted an old freezer into a kiln. And after a lot of trial and error, I've found everything I've seen to put in my kiln came out cracked, and that's no longer the case. And things are drying amazingly fast. I rough turned that burl, box elder burl. I put it in the kiln, and 5 weeks later, I was finishing it, and it has not moved since. I took down my neighbor's tree and I cored out some bowl blanks and put those in the kiln. And a month later, I gave her finished bowls, nested bowls. And I just asked her the other day. She said they're perfect. Nothing's warped. Everything is fine. So it's the biggest thing is you cannot just put 1 or 2 pieces in that kiln. You literally have to load it. And the first couple times I opened up the door, water was just dripping from everywhere. So it's and that was the biggest thing is and then within 2 weeks, the moisture dried up, and within another 2 weeks, I checked the moisture content, and it was like 12%. So finished product.
Okay. Real nice.
Thanks.
Tom Foreman.
Yeah. Had never tried making a pepper mill, but when John offered a number of packages, I thought I'd try one. It came out close to what I wanted, but not quite. The one thing I wanted to try was to put a 3-axis top on it so that it would be very comfortable in the hand. It actually worked out very well, but the size is completely off, so I will probably redo it. But the question I have, it's by the way, it's the darker wood is Paduke. There are some veneers separating top and bottom. But what I don't know is what the main body wood is. I was reaching around my my shop and found something I had bought at there's the top. Thank you.
Mhm.
And it is very comfortable. It's just the wrong size for the unit. But if somebody can identify this wood was, I bought at one of our auctions. It had just been sitting in the shop, as I'm sure many of you have, just pieces laying around. I thought I'd give it was just about the right size. But after I turned it, I realized I have no idea what the wood is. So any ideas would be appreciated. Anyone identify it?
I don't know what it is.
You know, it reminds me of some spalting. So there's a type of spalting called white rot where you get that modeling of light color and dark color. It's possible that's what it is. I don't really know though for sure.
Okay, well, good. Now I don't feel bad because I kept looking at it thinking I have no idea what this is. Okay.
Does anyone else have comments?
On the beech, it kind of looks like beech or birch that's spalted.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it could be beech. Reminds me of beech a little bit. Okay, Riney.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I put together a couple of composites, mostly so you wouldn't focus in on the flaws in any one piece. So, now these are just examples of pieces that are irregular. The middle one is a piece of silver maple that was just a slab cut off. The other side of it is all bark. And then the upper one and the lower one are both Chocta Vigo, which is a Latin American wood that it's a very hard wood if you've never used it before. They use it for fence posts like we do black locust around here. And it looks like marble when you sand it and finish it. But they were just done on a big lathe, you know, avoiding crossing the tool rest as much as possible.
Anything else? Did you want to say something else, or did I go too fast?
No, that's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
The details are just burned with a wood burner.
Yes. Okay.
Then this is the main piece is ambrosia maple. The base and the collar, I think they're walnut, and it was turned. The ambrosia maple chunk was turned green, and I've had pretty good luck inserting bases and collars like this on a piece like that out of dried hardwood, either an exotic or a walnut, and really the piece never cracked at all. It held its shape. So the two pieces up on top and bottom seem to hold it together. I kind of like putting glass sleeves in these things, in these vases that can be pulled out and filled with water so that you can use them as a flower vase. And the only difference is it's hollowed, and then the base, the inside of the ambrosia maple is kept at about, I think I left that at about an inch thickness, and then put a recess in the bottom about a half an inch or 3/4 of an inch deep so that you can take the vase, the glass tube, and set it down there, and it centers itself nicely and holds in place nicely.
I like that one.
Then these are just to show some texturing. The upper one is pieces of holly that were cracked that I got from my stepdaughter in Washington, and the cracks were just left in place, and no filling or anything like that. The other three pieces are northern white cedar that I get up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where I usually spend the summer when there's no coronavirus at work. And those are all done, those are all textured with I use a little micromotor have a couple of them that I use that, you know, run at 40 or 50,000 RPMs. And those are textured, starting with, I think, a 1/4 inch Cutsall makes these small burrs, these small spherical burrs. And I think I just found I start with like a 1/4 inch diameter one, then go down to one that's about 1/8 of an inch in diameter, and make a second pass over the whole surface, and then make a third pass with like a dental burr that's about 1/16 of an inch in diameter. And it really makes for a nice texture with different size craters in it. I really love working with the northern white cedar. I know it's not a wood of choice, I don't think, by Woodturners, but it turns beautifully. It sands so easily that you could almost turn it with 80 grit sandpaper, and it's very light. So salad bowls are almost weightless. You can pick them up with a couple of fingers and pass them around. This is a huge. It's about 20 inches in diameter. It was turned from a root burl, a walnut root burl, that my brother dug up with a backhoe one day and then dropped it at my house off the back of a truck. And it took me almost a day with a power washer to clean the damn thing because it was so full of stones and stuff. But this is the biggest piece that came out of it, and it's one of my favorite pieces. It's got, you can see if you look closely up in the upper right and the lower right, there's still stones that are embedded in it. And then there's a stone in the lower left down towards the bottom in the blackened area. That's a stone that's still embedded in it. And it's a very large, heavy piece, but it's one of my favorites. Then the scoring is done with that same 50,000 RPM micromotor. I just rigged up a little jig for it with the hand piece, and then I just put a straight edge along there and just do radial lines to score those instead of hand carving it.
What's the finish on that one?
Finish, just about everything that I do, I use Minwax antique oil. And I did that because when I was teaching, we had the chronic problem of having a 40-minute class and then having to come back to the work. So we'd store them in plastic bags overnight, you know, long enough, short enough that they wouldn't mold. But I found Minwax to be a really nice thing for kids to finish their work in. We came up with a method that worked for us. We just would soak it. We'd soak a piece and I still do this. I soak the piece with Minwax because it's nice and thin until it's saturated, until it has a shine on it. And then let it dry for a couple of days and cure, and then sand the whole finish off, all the shine off, down to bare wood again. But now the wood's saturated and hardened. And then I put a final coat on it that I rub dry, hand rub dry with a cloth. Let that harden for a couple of days and then buff it with the Beal system, and it makes a beautiful lustrous finish. I still do that with just about everything except for stuff where I use walnut oil or whatever for food safe stuff.
Very nice.
Doesn't put a film on anything. It just has you see the wood just exactly the way it is. And then here's another composite. I just put this together as kind of a reminder that just because you have a lathe, you don't necessarily have to turn everything round. And I think some of my favorite pieces are a chunk of wood, like probably the red gum pieces, the Australian red gum pieces over on the left. Are just pieces, I get them rough like that and look at them and say, why the hell do I want to turn this? It's a beautiful piece of wood. So I just keep them square, rectilinear the way they are, and embellish them with either carving or wood burning or whatever. The upper middle piece is 2 chunks of buckeye burl that were just inverted against each other and held together with a brass rod. What else is there? That piece on the upper right is a large vase that I think was about 18 inches tall. And that's exactly the way it came off the wood pile. I saw it on the wood pile and saw the saw cuts on it from the chainsaw and brought it in and just started embellishing it. And it was one of my favorite pieces. Unfortunately, somebody bought it, so I don't have it anymore. And I think that's it. The lower right piece is a piece of box elder that was just a slab of box elder and just turned slightly to, into a curve.
That's kind of nifty. What's that black thing on the box elder?
The what?
The black thing.
Oh, it's a seashell.
Oh.
Before somebody bought it, we would just put little pieces of whatever we found outside on it, and it was always looked kind of nice. You could switch them off, and so that was just a spiral seashell.
Okay.
Wow.
How many years of work is this, Riney?
These were all done in the last year.
Oh, yeah? Very impressive, yeah.
Yep. I've gotten pretty prolific after I retired. I don't have to help kids implement their own ideas. I can do them myself now.
How many years were you teaching?
Pardon me?
How many years were you teaching?
I taught for 30 years, but I started teaching wood turning just as a necessity because we were so cramped for space that I decided I think I did that for about 15 years, since about 2000. And my past experience was always, I think, what most woodworkers have is, oh shit, I have to use the lathe to make 4 legs for a table. And it was never a very desirable, experience for me. And then when I went out and bought 5 little tabletop lathes because of the cramped space to start teaching wood turning. And that's when we kind of made the transition into turning wood as an art form more than just functional stuff. And that just took off. I went from enrollments that were hard to sustain to the point where boys would sign up and I'd have to turn them away. And they started entering stuff in art shows and winning art shows because of what I found so far is art juries don't quite get wood. So they kind of do a pass out of shame or guilt, I think, that this piece should get into an art show. And I don't think they've caught on yet. So so about 15 or 17 years I was doing wood turning with the boys. And
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Mike.
I've been retired 2 years. So
Mike?
Yes.
Just a comment, and that is, I was teaching for a while at that school, just on a part-time basis. And
that's right, we were colleagues.
One of the joys was, it was for fun, but one of the joys was going in and just, they had huge glass display areas with basically Riney's students' work, and they were spectacular. I mean, that considering those kids are, in the high school age, it was amazing how quickly and how artistically they had adapted his techniques.
And where is that? What school?
University School over in Hunting Valley. Two
Oh, okay.
campuses. There's a lower school in Shaker and there's an upper school in Hunting Valley, which is a great place to do this because it's built on a 200-acre hardwood forest campus. So we could go right out the back door and pick up spaltas, anything that was lying in the woods to use in the shop.
And to his credit, they built a beautiful shop for him.
Riney for president.
Yeah. Is Ken signed up today? I didn't see his name. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm here, Mike.
Oh, go ahead. Hi, Ken.
That's exactly what it is. It's a small ash bowl. This one I had fun with because of the liming. I'd never used that before, and I think it turned out to be a really pretty accent to the red elm. Natural on the inside and then limed all on the outside.
So how did you do that then? Did you finish it first on the outside with anything?
Well, I was very unsure about doing the liming, so I did the liming while I was still just turned the outside, and So the liming was done on the outside before I flipped it over, and then did the rim after I had created where my edge would be, so that I didn't get any of the liming wax into where the natural finish would be. It's very easy to do. I played around with putting just some wipe-on poly over top of the wax after I had used some sanding sealer over it, and it seems to be staying just fine.
Oh, the liming wax went on bare wood.
Yeah, oh, yes.
Yeah.
It's wiped on, and then you let it dry for just a little bit, and then start wiping it off, and to whatever extent you want to reduce the white that might drift into the harder wood.
That looks quite fascinating. Anything else you want to say, Ken?
No, that's it. Thanks.
All right. Tom.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is a few shots of my shop. That's my Laguna Lathe, 2436 lathe. I don't know why I thought the picture came a little sharper than that, but anyway, you can see on towards the end there's I got the 20-inch bed extension, the riser, and I made a little stand for some of my chisels. You know, the chisels you're working with when you're working on a project. I was laying them on the bed rails, and that wasn't too good. Things would try to roll off and so on and so forth. So I built that. And then on the bed extension, just past the tailstock, I made a sort of a tray kind of thing for holding tools. Also, a friend gave me some hickory boards, 1 inch thick, and made it out of that. And God, it weighs a ton. So, but anyway, it's very substantial. I could drop it from a jet, you know, and I don't think it'd break. But, and that's, there they go. There you can see a little bit better of that tool holder and so on. I have some Jacobs chucks there and so on. And that's, well, it's a Rikon. That's, well, I started with a Harbor Freight lathe, and probably like most people, and then went there, fell in love with wood turning, and then I went to Rikon there, and I thought that was going to be my ultimate lathe, and quickly outgrew that. And my wife, she's a wonderful gal. I told her, I says, well, I said, I think I need a bigger lathe. And she said, well, says, I'll tell you what, says, you work 6 days a week for over 30 years, and says, go get whatever you want. They gave me a blank check, and I did a lot of research. She says, but one condition, says, I don't want to ever hear it, you need a bigger lathe. And I said, okay, fair enough. So reduced it down, and like I said, even though I had a blank check, I was really leaning towards a robust for a while, but I couldn't justify the $7,100 the way I wanted it outfitted. So I didn't think it would make me a better turner. So I liked all the features of the Laguna and expandability and so on and so forth, and I have all that. So, and that's behind my lathe, and you can see my tool racks. The one on the far left on the wall, past the little shower curtain there for keep the wood chips off everything. That's the first tool rack I made, and filled that up, and then I made that bigger one, two levels. And that desk kind of thing is really handy. A lady we knew, she was moving, and she was getting rid of a lot of things, and her husband got that. He was a teacher, so I'm getting it from the school. I don't know exactly what they use it for, but it's got some nice deep drawers and everything, so it's good for holding things and so on. And yeah, it's really handy. And then on the wall beneath the pegboard, I built a little thing to hold my chucks. Somehow I ended up with 6 chucks, and my only defense is Woodcraft kept putting them on sale every once in a while, and I was left unsupervised. So, but anyway, I really kind of lazy about changing chuck jaws and so on and so forth. And they're Supernova 2s, and I have 2 easy chucks Easy Wood Tools trucks, and they're really nice. And you could change jaws on that in like 15 seconds. It's really great. And a little table down below for all the finishes I use pretty often. And daughter gave me that one. It's a little birthday gift, little handmade little table there, sturdy as heck. And she got it somewhere from years ago. And that's just some of my stash, my wood blanks drying, and so I got some planks and so on and so forth. And on the other side of that is just another area that I use to do some small tinkering and stuff like that. I have another table on the other side of that, and a drill press, my dad's drill press, and so on. But that's about it. Nothing really special. It's a 2.5 car garage. We had it built, and we were going to store our extra car in it, and we have a 2002 Pontiac Trans Am, and but it never made it. And I sort of was supposed to be for my lawn equipment and wood shop and a garage, for the car, and I ended up taking it over. So, like I said, I got a great wife. She still teases me about it. She keeps asking me, where am I going to put her car? And I said, well, we'll figure that out. But it's in a safe place right now. So. But that's it.
Well, apparently, according to the club members, the true test of a good wife is that she gives you a leather purse to cut up into pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, she hasn't done that yet, but yeah, she probably would. She's a good gal. I can't complain.
All right. Pete.
Yes.
Now here's the only guy with the studio.
My studio. Yes, you have to call it a studio. It can't be a shop. So
use that robust.
Yep, this is my basement studio. My robust lathe, my baby girl. But I've got everything basically crammed into this one small corner with future dreams of having an outbuilding where I can put the lathe in the center of the room and make things easier. But some of the things that I've done is you can see all pegboard storage for all my lathe accessories, all my turning tools and everything like that. Previously, my lathe, if you guys remember, the one that I built was where my tool sharpening grinder is, sticking out perpendicular to the wall. So all my tool storage was ideal for that. Now that the lathe is parallel to the wall, it's not probably the most safe reaching over the lathe to get my tools, but I don't really feel like changing it. We're only going to be here for a couple more years, and then hopefully I'll get that dream outbuilding for my workshop and I can redo everything. The next picture, so the same view, but this is my dust prevention system. These are all from IKEA. The whole kit is probably cost me maybe about $65 for all the curtains and the cabling and the slides. So that whole thing slides and pushes all the way against the wall, and it does a spectacular job of keeping the wood chips in that area, makes cleaning up a lot easier. On the other side of the wall is my dust collector. I went through a lot of research online, YouTube and stuff like that, and found the best way for small shops for dust collection, and this is what I came up with. This is just a Harbor Freight dust collector, and then the Oneida mini cyclone setup, and it works really well, I think, for wood turning, collecting everything, and still allows me some storage down there on the floor underneath. So up at the top, there's a piece of, I think that's 16-inch clear plastic tubing that was my original dust collection system. Just a kitchen exhaust fan in the wall right there, right above where my lathe was. And that actually works really well. I piped it out to one of the tilt out basement windows. Yeah, you can see it there. One of the typical basement windows. I made a frame and bought a louver system, a galvanized steel louver system. So when the fan's on, the louvers open up and it just pushes all that dusty air outside. Then I think the next photo is, yeah, so that's my workbench where I'm actually sitting right now. All my wood blank storage is there on the left and down on the ground. And then all of my in process or drying pieces are up on the shelves. I've also got, you can't really see, but underneath the chair down on the floor is where I store all my roughed out bowls that are drying in paper bags. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, here's a close up. So the only complaint that I have about the robust lathe is that there's no real storage for even just a pencil and you know, calipers and things like that. There's a tiny little like 6-inch by 6-inch square in the casting behind the headstock there. So I modified and made a platform for myself to hold my chucks and all the wrenches and a little magnetic tray for extra screws and stuff for the jaws, pencils, calipers, all that sort of stuff that I'm using like constantly when I'm at the lathe. I've also got a close-up of my my rigged up dust collection for when I'm sanding, and it's on a little swinging arm so I can swing that right up to where I need it when I'm sanding. And that's it.
Okay. That's it. Now, this is an introduction to Jim Schuster. He's got the 2-minute video that we're going to show, but he's going to be showing, Jim, why don't you start talking now? We have 2 slides for you here, and then we'll switch to your video. Jim, you're still there, right?
Jim,
Yeah,
you're
we-
still
We
muted.
can't hear him.
Let me see if I can.
Okay, am I on now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is a Vega lathe or Vega duplicator, and actually I demoed this at the Rockler store in Parma years ago. I don't know if Jim Duxbury was there at that time. He's the only one I can think of that might have been there. So, but anyway, this is kind of a picture of the Vega duplicator. The one I got came from an auction, and I've had it for years, and it doesn't do any fancy work, but if you're doing something over and over again, it works great. And I have this little side job that I do, and that's what I use it for. Yeah, this is one of the cutters that comes with it, and the actual cutter that I have was on was for metal lathes, and it was for cutting plastic actually. So I've used that, and it's interchangeable. You just take out the head there with that little screw, and you can interchange them in there. So it's similar to what I use.
If you used a positive rake on by hand, I don't think it would be unless you tilted it way over, it would be very much catch prone. So I thought that was fascinating how it has that lip around the for the cutting edge.
Right, and it doesn't do any real fine work. I mean, you still have to. I still have to use like 80 grit sandpaper to smooth the stuff up. So it doesn't do a fantastic job like that. So, especially if you're cutting into the end grain, it's pretty rough. So, but for what I do, it works great.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing here for a second and then I'll bring up the video.
Okay. And my grandson is the one that actually filmed me with my phone.
Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'll just let you watch it there. And if you have any questions, please feel free. So
What are those things?
these are poplar blocks, and these go to chimney sweep brushes. Another fellow in Elyria drills the holes in them, and we send them to a brush company in Rhode Island. And then they actually make chimney brushes out of them. And I've done this for probably about 7 years. It was a friend of Jim Pugh's, and the friend brought this to Jim Pugh, seeing if he wanted to do it. Well, Jim didn't want to mess around with duplicating all these, and he said, well, I've got a friend that has a duplicator. So I got involved with it that way. And I don't know if you got this in slow motion or not, Mike.
Yeah, I can't do slow motion.
Okay.
Or I don't know how. Yeah.
Okay, well, for some reason, it looks like it's going slower than it usually does. I mean, the whole process took me about a little over 2.5 minutes, I think, to do this one. So.
You're more proficient now than you were when you demonstrated it.
Well, I've probably done a few thousand of these. I've done this for about 6 or 7 years, this one little project. So.
Where's the pattern?
Yeah, the pattern is down right at the bottom, and he didn't take a good picture of that. But after you get the pattern cut out, and I've cut it out with some plastic. Once you get the pattern done, then you want to always go downhill with the cutter. And you can see I still have to use the sandpaper, and I use about an 80 grit sandpaper, and it cleans it up enough for what we do. By the time they get done with this brush, you hardly see any of the wood anyway. So, and I've got a few different places where I test it to make sure it's the right diameter. And actually a closed wrench works pretty good with testing the one end there. And I had an order for like 200 of these to do. So this was the last 100 that I got done.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So anyway, it's not fine woodworking, but it, it's a fun little project, and I get about 3 or 4 orders a year to do. So it doesn't make me millions, but it gives me some mad money to buy other things with.
And Jim, can you explain again? That's the handle of the chimney sweep?
That's the actual chimney sweep that the brushes go into. The other friend of mine drills the holes, and then they put the fiber brushes into this. And on the very end is the head. So this is the head of the brush, actually. I was going to try to get a picture of the actual brush, and I wasn't able to do that. But this fits onto the rods that go into the chimney there. So, and it's amazing how many they sell a year. There used to be a company in Elyria that we started out doing these for, and that company sold them to this company in Rhode Island. So we thought we lost the job, and here the Rhode Island company still needs us to make them. So now we ship them to Rhode Island. But we probably do a few thousand a year for this company.
What's the wood type?
It's poplar. I get 8-quarter poplar down in Yoder Lumber down by Millersburg. And it's all kiln dried stuff. And I slice it up then and cut it up that way. So poplar works pretty good. It's a soft wood, and it's pretty clear, doesn't have many knots in it. But like I said, it's not a fine woodworking cut, but it does what we need it to do. So.
Okay.
So that's pretty much it. Yep.
Thanks very
That's
much.
really cool, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah. So I would like to show you the rest of my shop, but it was such a mess that I didn't want to walk you through the rest of it. So.
That's a real shop.
Well, it's a real mess right now.
What kind of lathe is that? That's just a Delta.
That's an old Delta lathe that came from Wayne Jenkins. I don't know if any of you remember Wayne Jenkins, but he did some fantastic stuff with segmented, little pieces of segmented wood. And I bought that from his wife. Dick Gray and I went out and helped to clean out the shop. And so anyway, I use both sides of the lathe, which is nice because this has, of course, a reverse and forward. So I use the one side to do the actual cutting with the gouge there, and then I walk around, and I get a good exercise walking around back and forth between the lathe and the duplicator there. So.
I'm reassured to see your shop because I was scared to send a picture of mine and out of fear that there'd be a police ribbon around my house.
Yeah, me too. I know exactly what you mean. And I just put up a little blower system. You can't see it, but it blows the air down. And that's why this part of the lathe seems to be clean all the time, is because it's constantly blowing some air down. So it blows it away from me and it blows it down on the ground.
Huh. How big of a blower is that? Just like a fan?
It's just a little blower that came from a, I don't know if it's just a little, one of those, I can't think of the name of it now, but it's not a fan type, but it's a rat cage type of thing that turns around. It's just a small little blower, and it does a good job of what I need it to do. Yep. And it keeps the sawdust out of my face there. Sometimes I will use a mask, but with this blower, I haven't used one lately. So, yep. And I should have put a new shirt on, but that's kind of what I have. So, and those are the wood in back of me is some of the wood planks that I get down in the Amish country there. So.
Where's your famous tool box, tool wall hanging rack?
Well, that was in the other part of the shop, and I've got that totally covered right now with other junk. But sometime I'll maybe if we have another show and tell, I can show you my tool chest. Yeah. Yep.
I think we all feel at home in that shop.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Anything else before we end the meeting?
Thanks for having us, Mike.
All right, very good. Thanks everyone for participating. So the last two meetings, you had 45 people, both meetings. So I guess that means they're still worth having. I was a little bit nervous that the interest would die down and disappear or wane down to the point where we wouldn't have it. But it seems like if we're getting 45 people, I'm going to schedule another one for probably the last week of August.
Mike, I'd like to show a sphere that I just made and a couple cup chucks, which might be helpful.
Sounds good.
Okay.
And Steve Cheshire, you're allowed to submit something next time.
Okay. All right. I will.
All right.
All right, guys.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it is. Very nice.
There's the sphere.
Nice job.
Nice.
And,
Nice
How'd you
job.
learn how to do that? How'd you learn how to do that?
Well, I learned from two teachers. Derek Larson about 5 years ago at Arrowmont. And I had done a few spheres then and I hadn't done any since. And then that guy in the, I don't know, that Woodturners club around here showed me, but I had a problem with my cup chucks. So I made this one on the end of a small screw chuck. And then that one goes nicely into the headstock. But I needed a tailstock cup chuck. And I really had problems with it till I did this. Now what I've got here is a block of wood fastened to a rotating drive center. And what I did was drill a hole in that end of the piece of wood with a Forstner bit, use the little lead of the Forstner bit to center on the drive, and then I taped it and a little bit of CA glue to hold it firmly. And now I have a cup chuck, tailstock and headstock that I can change the cupping depending on the size of my sphere. And when I finish the sphere or have used up all the chuck, I can just crack it off and make another one. So that seems to work out pretty well. So that's the little tip that I wanted to pass on. Maybe it'll be helpful.
That's good.
Thank you.